What is going on, guys? Welcome back to another episode of the Muscle and Mindset Podcast. I'm your host, Coach David Brayson. And today I have the pleasure of having a super athlete as my guest. Is Gracie Kramer. How are you, girl?
I'm awesome. How are you?
It's the greatest of my whole entire life. So, guys, I was asked by many of my clients to get this super girl on the show and just pick her brain, talk to her about, her experience as an athlete, just, competing her whole life in what I consider one of the most competitive sports, there has ever been, which is, gymnastics. You have to be on another freaking level to be competitive in that, just because you need to be a super athlete. So one of the first things that I wanted to get, right off the bat is like, how do you get to, how do you become an athlete in this specific sport?
It's definitely a journey. It's a long journey. So a lot of it starts with just pure passion. I got into it because my parents got a trampoline and I just kind of like started messing around on it and teaching myself flips. And then my mom was like, "Okay, you're gonna kill yourself. Let's get into something where you're not gonna kill yourself." So I made the team that day that I walked in,
My
and
God.
I've loved it ever since. I'd say in the beginning, it's a lot of like understanding the fundamental discipline and really like falling in love with being disciplined. It's a really fascinating way to like kind of start out a sport. A lot of times I feel like sports are super fun, but like if I'm honest, like I feel like the beginning stages of gymnastics was like the hardest. Like just because you're at such a young age and you're having to like understand what it's like to listen, follow instructions super well. And like if you don't, you'll get hurt. And so um it was definitely something that you kind of have to do from the jump. And then once you do that, then you kind of roll with it, moving forward. But I'd say around age 12 is when people drop off, they stop doing it. Usually around like when they hit puberty, just because the body changes and it's really hard to kind
Yeah.
of get through that while training at such rigorous hours. And again, like a lot of people don't want to allocate. When I was training my hardest and like trying to do the most, I'd say I was training around like 30 hours a week.
Jesus. Yeah, that's a lot.
So yeah, it's a lot of time. I mean, you spend more time with your team and your coaches than you do with your own family. And there's a lot of sacrifice that goes into it, like not going on family vacations, not going to prom, not going to formals, not going to football games, or going really late and having to get ready in the car. But just it was definitely something that it tests your passion. So I think that's why, like, when you see the girls that are thriving in the sport, it's because they've been tested time and time again, and they have to keep kind of reassessing, like, okay, is this what I want to do? Is this what I'm cut out for? Am I making a difference? Am I, putting myself in the best position possible? So it just forces you to be super mindful about that stuff.
Yeah. At what age did you start?
6.
6. Wow, that's really early. I started playing soccer, at the same age, but I play at a professional level.
Hmm.
Even playing at the highest level, I believe that gymnastic, it's just so like it's more competitive than any other sport because you need to be that much better
Hmm.
to separate yourself from the crew that is just okay, and
Yeah.
it takes an insane amount of hour effort and use desire to actually be and make it to that top, right? You mentioned that you had to train 30 hours per week, uh,
Yeah.
and that is just an insane commitment, right? Do
And
you
that was like age 12.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that is, that's what makes somebody be successful. You must have gone through times where you wanted to quit because it was just like, this is too much. That's, that is going to be my next question.
Hmm.
Were there points through this journey that you thought it's like, this is too much, I don't think I can do this anymore?
Not with regards to like quitting fully, but there's like certain specific levels when it comes to gymnastics. So like for instance, there's the professional level, which is you're competing internationally to eventually get onto the Olympic team. And a lot of those girls, they have to know that they want to do the Olympics, and their coaches know at a very early stage as well. They kind of like handpick you if you show like you can, catch on to skills really quick. You don't have a lot of fear. You have all of the right basics and foundation, and your body's kind of built for it. It's a really fascinating thing, but like they usually know around age 10, and
Wow.
they'll kind of like, I hate to say like groom you, but like they literally take you under their wing and make sure that you kind of do all the extra things that will make you an Olympian. And it takes so much time, dedication, effort to even get to that place. So you kind of have to know you have to know at a really young age. But I thought that I wanted to do that, and I thought I wanted to go that route because I was at a gym at the time that was helping a girl go to the Olympics. And so I was training with that group that was all like the Olympic training, like homeschool groups. You had to be homeschooled because practice was from 1 to 9 p.m. And you'd have lunch and dinner there. It was wild. A lot of lean cuisines. And I think after a year of doing that, I realized that that wasn't the route I wanted to take. I wanted to do college gymnastics because I had seen the comparison between the two. You watch the Olympics versus watching like the college meet. It's not even like comparable. Like, I mean, the Olympics is really individual. It's mostly like for the sake of, having that title and having that honor and that pride and like what you do. And for me, I didn't get the same satisfaction from like winning as I did from like the team atmosphere and contributing to a team and just having fun and like expressing myself in such a unique and different way and then being accepted for it. Like you can just kind of take it and like run with it and make it your own. With elite, which is like the Olympic route, it's very cut and dry, cookie cutter. Like you have to do it this way, and if not, you get like penalized. So for me, it wasn't really that hard of a decision. Like it was a year in, I realized it wasn't for me, and I just switched gears. But I am more than happy with the way it turned out, and I ended up on the same team as two Olympians that had a very different experience during their high school careers, and it was just back because we all kind of ended up in the same place anyways. But it just didn't. The winning thing wasn't really like a big deal to me. It was more leaving the floor with the satisfaction of knowing that I did my best and I did everything I could to prepare accordingly so that I could leave with no regret.
Yeah, I mean, you are a champion. Like you won. I mean, you went to the college level. So this is what, between 13 and 15 years old, that you decide that you're not trying to go the other route of the Olympics, I guess.
Yeah, like age 13, and then at age 13 is when they start scouting you for college. So they'll like send you letters and brochures of like their college and just kind of like try to pop up on your radar for future recruiting purposes. They made a rule recently where you can't recruit or like offer girls until junior year, but back when I was in club, you would get offered around like 8th grade or 9th grade. So yeah,
that is wild. So one thing that I want to ask you is like, what do you think, or what were the biggest struggles that you have to overcome when it came to just pushing to the next level? You mentioned, skipping prom, formals, and all these different things. It takes a really big level of commitment and knowing what you want to do in order to get to the point that you got to. So what were the things that I don't think that you regret, but you think you might have enjoyed more at your age that you decided not to because you were so committed into the sport?
I mean, if I'm being honest, like I had gone to like one or two dances, and it was just not for me. Like I personally don't care too much about that kind of stuff, but like I know a lot of my teammates felt like they're missing out, and I just kind of realized, I think at a really young age, it wasn't worth it to fixate on things that I can't do rather than fixating on things that I can do. And like it's kind of that gratitude perspective of like, I get to do this, I get to compete at this level. I know that there are plenty of girls my age who either got hurt, they had to retire early, or they just weren't physically capable anymore of being at my level, and they would kill to be there. And it's like, you recognize, you know, what you have and how like great you have it, and then you don't feel like you're missing out. Like the FOMO isn't there when you kind of focus on, okay, cool, I get to do this awesome thing.
Yeah, exactly.
Who cares about a dance? You know, in the grand scheme of things, I'm not going to look back and be like, crap, I wish I went.
Yeah, exactly. It wasn't a life-changing situation, but you know, going to the training and just pushing forward,
Yeah.
you know, it got you to the point to where you are now. One thing that, you know, I don't think people really, you know, are able to understand, or they don't really know much about is like, you know, what does the training and nutrition look like when you're trying to be an elite athlete in gymnastics?
Thankfully, my mom cooked a lot of like really, really healthy food. She's always been super good about that stuff. Like that's been my whole family's thing for a long time. My dad was an athlete. He still is an athlete at age 61. He plays beach volleyball and surfs almost every day. Plays golf with my brother. Like he's super active. And I think they knew like and he's also an orthopedic surgeon. So he knows that there's so many things and so many factors that play into a healthy body when you're competing at such a high level. So having that beautiful resource at such a young age kind of helped set me up and understand to my very core like what I need to do to be the best athlete that I could be. And I didn't think of that as like a burden or like I'm missing out or a sacrifice. It was more like these are tools, use them. So
Yeah.
it was never like a decide whether or not to eat healthy. And like I
Okay.
knew that every decision I made was either going to take me closer to my goal or pull me further away. And so when you kind of break it down like that, it's very simple and not so emotional or complicated. I think a lot of people try to overcomplicate the concept of eating clean, but it's like your body is a car, like fuel it, you know, fuel it with the best you can. And like, especially now with all of the incredible resources you have to get healthy food at like, obviously it's expensive, but I see it more as like you're investing in yourself. So you're investing in your health, you're investing in your life, in your longevity of life. And I don't think that there's any reason to justify not doing that.
Yeah, that was a mic drop because I say the exact same thing. I use the example of you are a Mercedes, right? I'm using the nicest German car you can find.
Mm-hmm.
You have cheap gas and then you have premium gas. When do you believe that engine is going to be working at 100%? One, you know, you have to make sure that you have the highest quality fuel in that tank. So you need to look at your body the same way. The more you fuel it with better quality stuff, the better it's going to respond to anything that you ask it to do. So of course it could get expensive, but I think it's relative to what you're actually trying to accomplish.
Well,
Right?
and
Because,
I feel like if you think of it too, as life is already hard. And like that's kind of where I also had that pivot moment. Cause when I was young, of course, it's like, I'm gonna get a milkshake, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do that. But when it was all kind of on my lap and I had to decide, you know, I was living in an apartment by myself, I was getting all my groceries, like I had to be mindful about how I fueled myself. And I have that responsibility now. It was like I just started realizing like I don't like feeling like crap at practice. It
yeah,
just isn't worth it to me. And I realized that even the smallest things could contribute to my body aching or me feeling sluggish or just practice like not feeling like I'm at the peak of my performance. And that sucks. Like that's not a great feeling when you're putting in all those hours. And I also read a article once that said that resonated with me so heavily and like it stuck with me ever since. But alcohol, and I was in college too. I was only a sophomore in college,
yeah.
which like totally ruined alcohol for me. But like you drinking, let's say like one night of drinking, like binge drinking, erases 6 to 7 training days of progress. And I was like, okay, so I'm devoting 4 hours a day to training my butt off, getting my butt kicked every day, and I'm erasing it for what, one average night? Like, just to say that I drank, it's just like, why is that even worth it? And just to like what fit in, I just felt like that's not me. I don't need alcohol to like have a fun personality. Like I actually have more fun when I'm sober. So like that was something I had to make very clear to myself and like understand like that's not a sacrifice. That's just me understanding my body better and understanding like I'm not the kind of person. I wish I was sometimes, but I can't work hard and play hard. Like
Yeah.
I had some teammates who could get away with it. They, you know, they could go out all night and then they could wake up the next morning and have the best practice of their life. I just wasn't that athlete. And I realized that thankfully at a young age, so I wasn't self-sabotaging every time we went out or every time, you know, I had a girls' night and like everyone wanted to drink wine. It's like I just realized for me that's just not what I need. And I think when you are very in tune with your body and you're mindful about it, like you recognize what's worth it and what's not. And for me, that just wasn't worth it.
Yeah, I can resonate with that 100% just because, you know, I started playing at professional level very early.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we don't get recruited at, you know, 10, 12, you know, but I became part of the team, you know, at 6 years old. And then you know, you grow into the team, you know, you get up to the next rank. And I signed my first professional contract at 16 years old.
Wow.
I'm in a third world country. I'm from Venezuela originally, right?
Okay.
So you're there, you know, you're a professional soccer player, you have some money, and then, you know, you're the star, right? You go party and you drink. And I did that for a few years where it was practice, game, weekend after the game over. I'll be
Mm-hmm.
trash, right? And, you know, I don't say that proudly, but when I understood that if I put my health first
Mm-hmm.
and cut out drinking completely, I could be a much better athlete. That's
Yeah.
when, you know, my stock just completely raised. And it's like, wow, how did this happen? You know, I didn't do this a few years ago, but now I am.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes it's hard for people in their fitness journey to understand that alcohol might be the reason why they're not progressing as much as they want to in many aspects of their life. So thank you for sharing that. And
Yeah.
one thing that I want to touch on is that I saw that you got injured.
Yeah.
Is that recently?
Yeah. I got
Oh
it
God.
recently.
What happened?
So I decided around a year ago to start pursuing I was doing stunt training, so like stunt double
Yeah.
type stuff where you're doing stage fighting, you're taking wrecks, you're falling off buildings, whatever. I got super into it. Um and I was commuting up to LA every day, which is it was about like an hour 45 drive, 2 hours. Um and I just kind of realized like as much as I love a lot of the things that I did, I wasn't capitalizing as much on like the things that I'm already capable of. I was having to like learn, you know, judo and MMA and like all these things that I wasn't as good at. And I think I realized at this age in my life, I'm tired of having to like prove myself constantly. And that's what I was doing is I have a very strong tendency to lean towards that underdog mentality. And so, for instance, like when I was at UCLA, I was a walk on. And the underdog mentality is like, I walked on, I didn't get a full ride. I wasn't, you know, their favorite athlete. I wasn't even
Yeah.
supposed to be in lineup for floor. And I ended up, you know, overcoming all those obstacles and kind of proving everyone wrong. And I think I was carrying that into my professional career. And I realized I want to do things that highlight what I do rather than make me question if I'm good enough. And so I kind of started shifting gears and doing more professional gymnastics specifically. So like for commercials, for TV shows, for ads, social media. And so I took a lot of my passion to social media, started posting there, and then I got way more opportunities with things that I love to do
Yeah.
and not things that I feel like I'm in over my head. So I was asked to do a sketch commercial, and I was out in New York and I was tumbling for it, and it was like on one of the turns they wanted one more shot. It's always the one more, of course.
Yeah, for sure.
And I'm like such a, you know, I'm not a people pleaser, but I am kind of a robot. When someone is instructing me to do something, I'm going to do it to the best of my
Yeah.
ability. And they wanted me to like go a little bit higher, and I get that. Like they want it to look like, you know, very impressive and floaty and whatever. And the way that you have to punch on a skill into the next skill, your feet are really far behind you. And I wasn't listening to my body. I was just kind of like letting my adrenaline take over. And I didn't realize probably should have been like taking more breaks in between each turn. Mind you, I was also wearing like jeans and like a blouse and a sweater. So,
Oh God.
and like a wig. But I tore my Achilles on the punch, like on the takeoff. And Thankfully they did get the shot, so we're good.
Oh, that's
And
good. That's good.
yeah, so it's all good. It was I was the most stressed about that, honestly. Like I was like, I don't care about my foot right now. Like, did you get the shot? Like I was just praying it all worked out. But yeah, so it worked out. They were stoked with everything that I did. I literally killed myself for them, but so hopefully they're very thankful.
Yeah.
They were so supportive and nice about it. Like they just, they did everything they could to help me. It was probably the worst 48 hours of my life. Like the getting from New York, flying out of New York to LAX, and then driving from LAX down to Orange County. It's like the longest travel day ever. My parents thankfully came and picked me up from LAX, and my dad's an orthopedic surgeon, and he was like, let's assess it, because they were like, don't go to the hospital, just get on the plane and get home. Like, we'll check you out when you get here. And I knew it was torn, and I don't think anyone else understood why I knew that. But like in gymnastics, it's very common. It's not super common anywhere else, but that it's definitely one of the most common injuries. Like that's like the nightmare injury that everyone's very scared of. And it always happens on the takeoff because the impact. But I just honestly like have been in really, really high spirits because I know it probably was best case scenario. And I hate to say that because of course no injury is best case scenario. But like I was doing so many incredible opportunities and projects leading up to this. And it was like I had never been injured really before like this. So my whole career I went out completely fine. Like came out of it still tumbling, still doing everything that I love to do, which is super rare. And so I was super proud of that and like super thankful that I even came out alive, while a lot of my teammates had to get surgery after they graduated just for like fixing their bodies up again, So this
Did your dad do the surgery?
He did.
That's cool.
Yeah, it was my first surgery, and I wouldn't have wanted anyone else to do it. Like he is one. This isn't even like a biased thing. He is one of the best doctors in the country, and he works with motocross racers, professional skateboarders. He's done Ryan Sheckler surgeries. He's done tons of professional athlete surgeries, and he knows their bodies better than anyone. And like he knows my career and what I do more than anyone. So
all right, after the episode, I want you to text me this information because I actually have my knee reconstruction scheduled for the 18th.
Okay, yeah.
So
yeah, he does knees, he has shoulders, elbows, ankles, everything.
Yeah, he might take me away from the guy that I'm going to see, but we'll see.
Okay, got it.
I love the high energy and positivity that you have going through this, because I'm going to segue a little into what you're going through and what any women could feel like when they're going through their fat loss journey. You coach people, you have a training app, you sell programs, and most people, you did, we face struggles throughout our journey that sometimes might make you feel like, okay, this is it, I'm done. But there is always this light at the end of the tunnel, that you really just need to have a positive mentality at all times, because you could simply say, you know what, I'm done, I won't be able to do this anymore. But the reality and the way I live and the way I teach my clients or my athletes, like, you become what you think about, right? If you're looking at this situation as a life-ending moment, instead of seeing, you know what, I get injured, but what could I do after this? What's the positive side of this? What is this saving me from? Right? So I just appreciate, how you have, understood the situation and, and looking at it from the brighter side rather than, I'm done, I won't be able to do this anymore. But instead, it's like, let me push forward. Let me get back on my feet and see if I can do this again. And I have no doubt that, you'll just be crushing it, in a few months after PT, right? I have no doubt about it. Now that I touch on training and nutrition, tell me a little bit about the type of training that you do, with the people that, that buys your program, or, how do you help others, achieve their goals?
Yeah, I mean, so recently I was reached out to by a company that creates training apps for trainers, influencers, athletes. And it's basically this really cool platform that allows you to create your own workouts, specialize them, and create them for your following. And I wasn't really super confident in like my training like workouts in the beginning. I was like, I'm very much a homebody and I love doing home workouts. And I kind of started realizing like a lot of people don't want to justify spending all the money on, you know, memberships for a gym, getting their butt out the door. And it's just like the actively like thinking, okay, I'm going to get up, I'm going to get ready, and I'm going to go to the gym. I feel like that's the hardest part for most people. And so for me, I try to capitalize most on emphasizing the fact that you don't have to go anywhere. You can do it at home and you can do it in under 15 minutes. Like there's certain, and I just feel like, or if you want to knock out like 2 or 3 at a time, you can kind of do that on the app with, you know, whatever type of workout they want to do. There's like abs, you know, booty band type stuff. There's legs, there's everything. And like, I think my biggest thing is also explaining that like anyone can do it. I think a lot of times they see professional gymnast, professional athlete, and they get intimidated by that title and they think, well, okay, if she's doing it, like I'm not gonna be able to do that, you know. And like it ranges from beginner to advanced, and if they want to learn how to do a handstand, I can do something like that. And like I created a little challenge where you can learn a handstand in 10 days and just little things like that. But I'd say majority of my training, especially right now, I actually had to hire a personal trainer because I was struggling with being mentally like there. I think I was a lot of times my tendency to like self-preserve and self-protect is kind of zoning out and like focusing on different things and distracting myself. And so when I recognize like when I would have to create workouts, you know, obviously that work around this injury, I'm having to think about everything that I can't do.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's not really like a healthy mentality. And I think by me recognizing that early on, it's saved me a lot of heartache and struggle mentally because it's not my job to figure out what I can't do. It's my trainer's job.
Exactly.
And I don't have to think about it.
Mic drop. That's a mic drop. I love that.
So it's been going really well. And I actually can do a lot of leg workout stuff, like, which is surprising, but anything that doesn't involve my right, you know, Achilles, it's been still really awesome. I feel like I'm getting a really solid workout in, and like I am doing everything I can to also kind of promote that and film and get everything out for my followers or for friends and family, whatever it may be, and young athletes especially, to recognize and understand like just because you're hurt doesn't mean you have to stop. Like there are so many other things and so many other routes you can take, and all you have to do is just be open-minded and not be stubborn or feel sorry for yourself. Like it's so easy to slip into that mentality, and don't get me wrong, like I've been sad and I've gone through like little roller coaster emotions where I'm, you know, ignoring it and then it kind of hits me, but most of it is genuinely just like I don't like not doing stuff. Like I love being able to do so many things, and so now it's just me kind of channeling that energy into something else that I may have never tried before because I was always busy doing gymnastics or circus stuff, like whatever. So like I'm learning how to play the piano and like started writing, you know, ideas for maybe like writing a book for like young athletes, for them to kind of build mental game and strength through like what I experienced and all of my resources that I utilized at a young age. So I don't think I would have been thinking about that stuff unless this happened. So it's just me kind of recognizing, okay, this is where I need to go. But especially, I feel like your clients, it's like them understanding, like, okay, it's not about losing weight. It's about being proud of your body, celebrating what you're capable of, and then pushing yourself out of your comfort zone each day. But like when you focus on the end result, it just ruins the process, and it's almost scarier. It makes things very intimidating because you're like, that seems so far away. But like if you focus on right now, like how can you be the best version of yourself right now?
Yeah.
Who cares about what's happening later?
I'm gonna drop the mic one more time. Yeah, and you said two things that really hit home. One, you're allowing your trainer, your coach to take the reins and you just follow what he's doing, because it's going to help you perform better, because you might be judging yourself in a way to say, you know what, I can't do this.
Yeah.
But he sees what you're actually able to do. And once you follow what he's doing, it's like, oh shit, I can actually do it. Right. And you get back to this happy place, like, you know what, I can do anything I want. But it only comes down to you believing in what you're able to do and trusting whoever you hire to, help you overcome whatever struggles that you have to push through, right? And the other thing is that weight loss. I want to touch on it for a second. The number that people come to me and to all coaches, I want to lose 25 to 30 pounds. Let's say that you weigh 160 pounds and you want to be 130, right? You're already creating a limiting belief that once you get to those 135 pounds, you're going to be happy. You're telling yourself that you're going to be done once you get to that point. And 99.9% of the time, there's always more that you can do. You said just feeling good about yourself, understanding that you love yourself and you putting yourself first, and you don't care about the world, but just the way you feel with your body, with your mental health, with everything. It's more important than any number that you could possibly see. Just because the more you learn about the things that you're able to do, and you keep pushing yourself towards that goal, the bigger the goal and the vision is going to be. But if at the beginning of the journey you say, I just want to get here, you're just cutting yourself short for no reason. And unless you make the decision early on of I want to get there and improve from that point on, is when life starts getting really exciting. So I like that we share the same mentality when it comes to that.
Well, I think too, a big thing personally that I've experienced is I'm not one that does well under pressure, which is shocking, but it's like that's just not the way my brain likes to work. Like, I would much rather feel like I'm on top of it, I'm thriving, and I'm confident. And confidence is what fuels me to do more that will better me. But a lot of people, I'm sure, obviously you have to kind of reassess like what fuels you and what drives you mentally. But once you do that, then you can kind of tailor the way that you train and the way that you think towards training accordingly. But for me, I like thinking I'm a badass, and that's why I do
love it
things that I do. I'm not thinking, okay, I need to get to X, Y, and Z, and that's why I have to do this right now. And so I think if a lot of people that are watching, like, if that resonates, maybe try to shift that mentality so that you're not feeling like there's this high expectation to like lose all this weight and then that's when you're going to be happy. Like, choose to be happy right now, because that's an attitude and a choice. And then maybe like you'll feel better about training. Like, you'll actually be satisfied with what you do, and then the fat loss obviously comes like along with it, but that shouldn't be the focus, because I feel like, especially as women, like, we're so easily compared, and like, especially in this day and age with social media, it's so easy to compare yourself to people on social media, and you're never going to be happy, ever. Doesn't matter how skinny you are, doesn't matter how fit you are. The girls that are the skinniest, the fittest, the ones that you're comparing yourself to, are probably the most miserable. So my advice to you now is to understand, like, you're going to be happy because you choose to be happy, not because of the way that you look. And the way that you look comes along with doing what you love and taking care of yourself and living a healthy lifestyle. But I rarely ever think about, okay, I'm doing this to like look a certain way, because I think setting goals that are actually tangible, that like are in your control, are so much easier and less anxious than ones that seem like, well, it's just a number, like, or it's something that you can't actually physically like control yourself. Like, you can't just like cut off your fat, but you can get stronger. You can be more flexible. You can take better care of yourself through like recovery routines or like what you eat. Like, those are things that you control. And then in result, happens. But
love that. I actually just posted a video, got taken down for some reason. Yeah, because I said, if you don't want to see progress in your fitness journey, compare yourself to other people, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
You need to act like the person that you want to become before you're actually that person.
Yep.
And that is one of the biggest realizations that when I understood that, 10 years ago, everything exploded for me. It's like, wow, everything is now somehow, magically actually happening, right? And it wasn't because I did something different. It's just because I committed to my goal in a way that I simply acted and lived like the person that I look up to, that was myself 10 years down the line.
Mm-hmm.
Now, just like your weight loss fitness journey and whatever goals you have, you're going to get to a point where you get to that goal that you set, but now you want more. And it's not about a place where you want to get to. It's progression, right? Success and happiness. This is by Ern Nightingale, one of the greatest stoics of all time. Success is a progressive realization of a worthy ideal. A
Yeah.
man or a woman become what they think about all day long. So if you believe that you have what it takes to be successful and get to your goal, you need to act like the person that you want to become so you can actually get there.
Yeah.
So, and that's what you did to get to the point that where you got to in your gymnastics career. The way that you're impacting life through social media is because you say, I want to somehow be a positive impact for somebody. I don't care how many people sees what I'm going to do, but as long as one sees it, I'm fine. Now there are hundreds of thousands looking at what you do and seeing you as an inspiration, and all started by you wanting to help one person, right? And here's the caveat to this: you cannot help somebody if you don't help yourself first.
Mm-hmm.
So you realize that, and boom, everything happened for you. So it's again, it's just awesome to see. It's talking to somebody who is like-minded,
Mm-hmm.
and goal driven, and improvement driven. It's also always a really good experience. I'm going to ask one last question before I let you go. What do you go to school for? Because you went to UCLA, right?
Yeah. I always say that I majored in gymnastics because that was like the thing that I love to do the most, but I majored in sociology. I actually was committed and signed, which means like contract signed to Arizona State for a full ride. And I ended up switching because there was a whole debacle that happened at that program. They were kind of rebuilding. They lost their coach. There was just a lot of drama that was going on, and I just didn't feel like it was fair to me in my gymnastics career to like sit through years and years of struggle at a school that just wasn't the school for me anymore. Like it wasn't the same school that I committed to when I was a freshman, sophomore in high school. And so I had to make the tough decision to decommit, and thankfully they let me out of my contract because the coach had gotten fired, and I got a walk-on offer to go to UCLA. So going into it, I was actually only going to do vault, and I recognized that there was such an incredible opportunity that I should definitely capitalize on that I didn't realize
Yeah.
until I was a sophomore. And I think that was one of the things that I vowed to myself to always be at the level that I held myself to, not to anyone else's standard, not to the judge's standard. I did what I needed to do to feel good. And I think that's where all the success started coming through. Because I wasn't focused on the big picture. I was narrow minded on what am I going to do today to make myself a national champion. And then thankfully we won that year. So I was a national champion. I got to be a 3-time All-American by the time I graduated, and
Yeah.
again. So
That's awesome.
but yeah. So I don't really remember much of the school stuff because I knew like whatever I wanted to do after was going to
Yeah.
be a lot of the stuff that I do. Like you don't really need a degree for that, but thankfully UCLA Gymnastics was a huge platform that elevated me and helped put eyes on me, put me in a spotlight that has set me up for incredible opportunities. So
That's amazing. It's you have a really cool story. That sometimes people that see you or myself on social media, they don't realize all the struggles that you have to push through to to get to a certain point.
yeah.
And it's just your integrity as a person that will allow you to get there. You do the things that you said that you will do, because if you don't, nobody's going to do it for you.
Mhm.
And that's, the only way you've been able to get to where you are now. And I just appreciate people who use, who do it, just, excuses are just cheap. And, it's just a great experience too. And it's always great to connect with somebody who is like-minded. So I really appreciate you coming on.
Thank you for having me. I had so much fun.
Everybody, all her links are going to be linked in the bio of the podcast and iTunes and Spotify. If you want to reach out to Gracie, just shoot a DM. Just connect. I think if you have any questions, she might be more than happy to help you figure that out. And just find something, or see who you believe is somebody that you aspire to be like, and become that person before you say, I want to be like you. Become your own hero, because I promise you, it's a lot more fun than trying to be somebody else.
Main character only.
Yes. Let's go. Guys, thank you for coming on another episode of the Muscle Mindset Podcast. We are out, and I'll see you tomorrow.